This is the Training Camp Podcast. Paul, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Ken?
I'm doing good. Jake, we're joined by Jake. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing well too.
Good, good. Paul, what level are you right now in Pokemon Go?
I think last time I reported in at level 9, and this time I am still level 9. I'm slightly higher in level 9, but not as much productivity this week as I was hoping.
Attaboy. You gotta get them drowsies. You gotta wake up
That's
first
it.
thing in the morning, get them drowsies.
That's what it comes down to. I have so many drowsies. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Jake, fill us in on what your leveling situation is right now. You were kind of going on about it a little bit before we started recording, so go ahead and tell us where you're at right now.
So at the beginning of this week, I was around level 15 and a half. I got up to level 17 towards the end of the week. And then I saved up a lot of candies to evolve some Pokemon, and I used my lucky egg, so I went all the way from level 17 to 19.
So this is probably like a really like everybody knows about this strategy right now, except I learned about it like 3 days ago. So let's talk real quickly about how this works. The whole kind of like now widely accepted strategy of using the lucky eggs, saving up your Pokemon. So Jake, do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So you basically just save up as much Pokemon who can evolve, like stock up on your candies, mainly Pidgeys, Weedles, and Caterpies, because it takes them only 12 to evolve to the second stage. So you just save up anywhere between 30 and 60, because normally you can evolve Pokemon in 30 seconds. So save up that many, and then you use your lucky egg, and you just evolve for a whole half hour. And I personally did it with about 45-ish, and I still had about 7 minutes left over. So it's definitely, you can get a lot of mileage out of saving up your lucky egg, because instead of just getting the 500 XP for evolving a Pokemon, you get 1,000. And if you evolve a new Pokemon, you get the extra 500 because it's a new Pokemon. So whenever you double that, it's another 1,000 that you get out of it. So if it's a new Pokemon, you get 2,000 instead of just 1,000 for evolving it.
Right.
So how much XP did you get this past like lucky egg session that you did?
I got at least 45,000, and then I think I evolved 4 new Pokemon. So that's another 4,000, so close to 50,000 experience.
Jeez.
how does the level and experience range go up as you get higher level? Because I know that once you hit level 10, I think it's only like 10,000 XP to go from level to level. Yeah. Is it like that between 10 and 20, and then it goes up between 20 and 30 or something?
To go from 15 to 18, I think it was about 20,000 experience to go up a level. And now that I'm level 19, to go up to level 20, I need 25,000.
Oh, okay. So then it's not anything like I thought it was. Okay, that makes sense. Huh. Okay,
yeah, I think there's slightly different tiers for what level you are.
Okay, I gotcha.
I also know whenever you get into the level 20s, it becomes ridiculous with XP. I think to go from like 23 to 24, it's 75,000.
Oh, wow.
Really?
That's really exponential then.
I saw a picture online of someone at that level, and it was like 75,000.
Yeah, one thing that we talked about last week was that as you level up, the Pokemon around you possibly are higher level, and more rare Pokemon start to show themselves. So does that scale sort of proportionally as you get higher level, that it's not necessarily as if you were a level 10 trying to like churn out this XP to get up to another level?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've been seeing new Pokemon, and they're definitely higher. Like before, I would see just the male Nidorans everywhere, but I actually found a fully evolved Nidoking at like 833 like CP. So that was interesting, and I ended up catching that.
Okay. So where have you sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and then I've just been seeing like newer Pokemon. Like I saw a Cubone before, which I never really saw before, and like Mankeys have been popping up in more like Poliwags.
Oh, nice.
And they're all a lot higher CP. Like before, it'd be kind of weird to see someone up in the like 300s or so, and now I'm seeing all the way up to like 833 and like 400 and some 500s.
Okay. So what do you normally do when you want to go out and catch Pokemon? You were talking about that you kind of go for a run or a walk, but is there kind of like a spot that you kind of frequent to get Pokemon?
I Yeah, so I started running, and then Pokemon Go came out whenever I started running again. So I just figured I'd have
Uh-huh.
it on whenever I run. And so there's a nice little trail called the Montour Trail where I go to, and that's mainly the only place where I play it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a whole lot of poison Pokemon, Weedles and Nidorans everywhere. But there's a couple
Uh-oh.
Pokestops along the trail and two gyms.
Okay, cool. And so that's what you've been doing lately is like if you want to go get Pokemon, you've been just kind of hitting up the Montour Trail.
Yeah, just hit it up, go for a run.
That's cool. That I'm glad that's kind of a thing where there's enough Pokemon along these well trafficked running areas that'll hopefully bring out more people to start using them and we'll see a lot more people getting fit through Pokemon Go. Paul, do you have any stories lately? Have you going somewhere new or checking out an area to get more Pokemon?
Yeah, so I've also been going running as well. I know, Kenny, you and I talked about this a little bit ago in terms of kind of getting a little bit of a fitness schedule going and
Yeah,
trying
man.
to use this app as some more motivation, and it's definitely working so far. That yeah, there is a small campus. There's Western Connecticut State University is right near me that I go running around, and there's actually a number of Pokemon and Pokestops all around it um, that I've been making sure to hit. And just yesterday, I went running, kind of dual purpose, just to see what kind of Pokemon that there are around that area. Which there are definitely plenty of the poison type again, like Jake was saying,
Yep.
plenty of Weedles, plenty of Nidorans. I also did see I also did see there's a number of water Pokemon up near me as well. So I did see a couple of Horsey, a couple of Magikarp, some Krabbies. So that was also kind of nice. But the other purpose of my run was also I stockpiled way too many eggs, and and so I needed to really start hatching these things. So I did actually make my first real money purchase of this game, and I bought one of the incubators just so I can do it a little bit faster. Um,
Ooh,
and
okay.
yeah, and I
He's
think
broken
that
into the paid game.
uh-huh. And yeah, I think it's like a buck or a buck 50. I can't remember what exactly it comes down to, but yeah, so I made sure to do that, and I was able to hatch. I think I hatched 3 eggs this weekend, just between I had the 3 incubators going, and I had all 3 of them were 5 kilometer Pokemon, and I ended up getting, what did I get? I think I got a Tauros out of one of them. I got a Ponyta, and I got a Psyduck also. So that was kind of cool. I did get a little bit rarer Pokemon. It wasn't just your typical Pidgey or Weedle or whatnot. Uh, so yeah, so I have been um, going around the area and not just driving around, but trying to be a little more fit and active as well, and in catching these Pokemon.
Awesome. That's really good. I mean, we talked about last time how I was driving around and how that was a bad idea just because I felt like a super lazy person. I might as well have been on like a I don't know, like just sitting in a chair doing it. But
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah. And recently I went to downtown in the yesterday and we went to the farmers market. Tons of Pokestops everywhere. That was
Awesome.
great. Except when you're in a crowd, it's probably not the best idea to be kind of focused on Pokemon Go, just because you're in the way of people trying to get in line of these like very unorganized stalls selling
Right.
vegetables and stuff. So I did feel really bad. I had to like pull aside and make sure I wasn't in anybody's way. But so there was that, and if you go down our main street, and this is downtown Greenville, South Carolina,
Hmm.
which is a fantastic place, and there's at the end of the main street there's this thing called Falls Park, which is a really beautiful huge waterfall with a giant curved bridge along above the waterfall with great views. Everybody's walking their dogs. Everybody's like, carrying their kids around. And lately, everybody's been on their cell phones because there are tons of Pokemon down by the river that the falls generates. And so I spent probably an hour walking around. And actually, surprisingly, first encounter, I was talking to me and Emily were walking along the bank of the river, and we saw somebody there who was also playing Pokemon. And you can tell someone's doing it because they're swiping their finger like up the page. You see the normal stance. So that was great, and we actually talked a little bit or exchanged a few words. And was like, oh yeah, my brother and his girlfriend are down that way, and they're doing whatever while I'm here catching Pokemon. And we just saw a bunch of kids walking around in the nice weather, catching Pokemon. So that was great. I caught there was a Magikarp, there was an Electabuzz. I caught a Dragonair up on the main street where the farmer's market was, which I thought was a pretty huge find. I was really excited about that. He hasn't even showed up on my tracking radar at all. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a great experience. I caught a ton of Pokemon. Those were the main new ones that I caught. But I caught a ton of Pidgeys and Rattatas and stuff like that. So, when I came home, I used one of the lucky eggs that I have. But I didn't seem to, Jake, you were going on the strategy there. I didn't use that to its fullest potential, but this was one of the biggest, Pokemon catching sessions that I've had in a long time, or that I've had so far at all. So I figured I'd try that out. And I went up, I think, a full level, just one full level. But next time, I think I might hold out a little bit longer, get some more candies, and so I can really take advantage of the 30 minutes that the lucky egg kind of gives.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I know I'm kind of the same way, that I think I'm gonna hold off a little bit until I really stock up these Pokemon that I can evolve. I still have my lucky egg from turning level 9, and I'm gonna end up using that eventually, but I don't know. I guess I'll know when the time is right.
One of the things I like to do with the lucky egg is because you don't know how long it's going to take you to evolve all your Pokemon. It's generally around 30 seconds each time, but you might be quicker. It might take longer. So I once I'm done with my lucky egg, I like to be seated down at a Pokestop, and then if I still have a good bit of time left, 10 minutes at least, I'll just throw down a lure if I have one, and then so I can catch more Pokemon as they come by, and I can still get the greater boosted experience.
Yeah, still get the double XP even if you're not evolving anymore. Yeah, that's a good call.
Right. Yeah. There was definitely near the bank of the river that we were checking out. There was two Pokestops within reach of this bench. So we sat down there, and I also dropped a lure, and which was the first time I did that. So that was kind of cool. I felt like I was contributing to the community, because there were so many people walking around. I was like, all right, yeah, enjoy the lure that I just dropped. But which is great. So, but one of the reasons that I knew that downtown and Falls Park in particular was a really good place for Pokemon, because I could just as a popular location for Pokemon, was I checked out Pokevision, which Paul, I think it was last episode that you recommended that you talked about, how you checked out this website that kind of gave you an insight to where certain Pokemon are and how long they're going to be. But Jake, before we were recording, you kind of were talking about how there have been some changes in terms of that. So what happened with Pokevision in the website?
So the CEO of Niantic, he kind of made a request and stated that he did not like the idea of these Poke Tracker websites such as Pokevision. And so Pokevision, the biggest tracking website, decided to respect his feelings on the matter, so they took down their website. But a lot of people are still outraged, because he said he doesn't like these tracking websites, but he still won't fix the 3-step tracking bug in the game itself.
Right. Yeah. Huh. That I understand where they're coming from, where when you have these different things coming up, where I guess it's somewhat proprietary stuff, and it changes how Niantic wanted people to actually interface and interact with the app. So I see where they're coming from, but honestly, if I'm gonna drive somewhere to walk around, like I can't walk to downtown. So
Right.
like if I want to drive somewhere to like walk around and get Pokemon, I'd kind of like to know if it's worth the trip in some way.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if we were in the Pokemon universe, you wouldn't know that there were certain Pokemon in certain areas unless it was like a community thing where maybe there was like a subreddit where like the main towns were there were people from the main towns that said like this is where I've caught this, or like if it was a community contribution thing where they would kind of mark off on a map, or even just like by word of mouth or by text of forum, I guess, where certain Pokemon happened. But yeah, I kind of wish they found like a happy medium with that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what kind of medium that there could be in terms of, um, like you're saying, either if there are, there could very well be blog sites right now that I am just unaware of, or if blog sites will um, arise because of this situation, just in terms of, again, bringing some amount of community together to say, hey, there such and such Pokemon in this area, such and such Pokemon near this Pokestop, um, that kind of thing. That's very possible that could and already is happening that I'm just unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually this great subreddit community. It's called like /r/ the Sylph Road.
Okay,
Oh, I've
And
heard about
the
that.
Sylph Road, like Sylphco from like the Pokemon games,
right.
Right.
like to make the Haunter or the Marowak appear in lavender, like the Sylph whatever device, I forget what
The
it's called.
Sylph Scope.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Sylph
yeah, I
Scope.
gotcha.
So the Sylph Road, they have like a ton of different tools that people are like posting up, and a lot of, oh, this is how like you should play the game, like guides and stuff. And I think some people are saying, oh, like I found all these Dratinis in this spot. Oh, where do you live? Like where is this? And they say, oh, I live in like Boston around this area, and there happens to be a spawn here because that's all I find. So people are like, oh, cool, I'll have to go over to that area and get some
Oh, I
Dratinis.
see.
And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, I like have a Growlithe spot near me. It's also in Boston. Come over here. And so like
Oh, that's awesome.
there's already
I'm so
like some
glad that
communication going on.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm really glad that kind of like we're not kind of using, like I talked about this, in the last episode, where I don't want to hear tips that are like, hey, I checked out the source code for the app and it turns out that, this happens every this, couple minutes, or, whatever like that. This is where these certain things spawn. But it would be great if it was kind of like we had the community intersect and like kind of had these like this verbal communication where we were saying, okay, this is what I found, what have you found, and actually have it in, like a community sourced location kind of method where people are like making it easier for each other, but only through the contributions of the people in the community, because that's the way that the game should be played, and that's the way that they would be doing it in the Pokemon universe, because that makes a lot of sense.
Something like that did happen. Um, Back whenever people still don't know about the Eevee evolution trick you can do with like renaming it a
Oh,
certain way
right.
until you get
Yeah.
like the evolved evolution like once. They were trying to figure out what decided getting a Flareon, Vaporeon, or Jolteon, and so they created this big Google document poll, and they'd be like, okay, like how big was your Eevee? What moves did it have? Like what team did you choose? What starter did you choose?
Hmm.
Is it extra small in weight or extra small in height? And they created this huge spreadsheet, and it was a great idea, but it ultimately came up that it seems to be completely random if you don't do the naming trick.
Huh. Okay.
Interesting.
So it was like a very big early collaboration because Eevee's kind of not all that rare. It's kind of
Right.
uncommon, and
Yeah.
it's not that big of a candy sink to evolve it.
To evolve. Yeah, no, that's a very good. It's a disappointing end, I guess, but yeah, that is another really good way of bringing the community together like that, and that's a pretty in-depth analysis. I wonder how many people or who was involved with submitting that to IBM Watson or something to do some statistical analysis on that to figure that out. But that's pretty cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if they're doing that with anything else. If they are kind of trying to pull as many people as possible to kind of like narrow down how it works. Because that's awesome. And with any game, and especially any multiplayer game, I would much rather hear it from like a community-driven. Like I know I keep bringing up the community, but kind of like a community-driven method rather than, like I said, checking out the source code or like using these like hack techniques to be able to figure it out. Because, like I said, if this was the real Pokemon universe, someone would write a book or word of mouth would be like, hey, this is where this happens. Like this is the forest where like a Pidgeotto appears like every like full moon or something like that. That I just think as close as you can get to the role playing kind of aspect, I think the more fun people will have and the more they'll actually be engaged with it and not see it as much as a simulation or a like a video game that is all ones and zeros. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sure there's going to be more games coming out where this is going to create even more communities and more, more methods to finding stuff out about it instead of people just kind of looking in the source code and having to like basically spoil it for everybody. And I know some people are into that. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who are, computer science majors are really into that kind of stuff who want to know how Niantic and, how I guess Nintendo, whoever kind of like came up with it. But for the rest of us, I think it's great to leave the technical part alone and kind of come together and give us a reason to communicate in terms of, where the Pokemon are and different ways to interface with the app. But that being said, I really like the idea of kind of role playing the app as a game and kind of being involved with the world. And I remember when we were having a conversation a few days ago, we were talking about if we were in the real world of Pokemon and we were Pokemon trainers, what type would we specialize in necessarily? So what kind of Pokemon would we gravitate towards? I don't like whether it be our personality or our interest. So I kind of wanted to ask you guys and have you guys elaborate a little bit. If you were to choose a type that you wanted to actually focus on, what would it be? So Paul, let's start with you. I know this is completely out of the blue, but I'd love to hear why you would choose a certain type and how you go with that.
Yeah, let's see. So I would probably choose a water type. I would probably be I don't know, a fisherman, or what are they called in the video games? That partially because right now that's just the environment that I'm in, and I'm just surrounded by water type Pokemon everywhere. But also I guess I like how at least I guess it's all kind of rock paper scissors that whether one type is particularly good against another, but I don't know, in terms of going against more common enemies, I mean the water is good against the rocks and against the fires and whatnot. I don't know, a lot of my favorite Pokemon tend to be the water type, like a Lapras or like I really do like Psyduck. He's just the right level of derpy just to make him adorable. And of course, I guess Gyarados and Magikarp would also be included in there as well, even though Gyarados is also kind of dragon, but he's water too. So, but I'd be a water guy, I'd say.
That's pretty cool. Was there anybody from like the show or the video game that you kind of were like, that guy's a badass? I want to be like that guy who's like a water type kind of trainer.
I mean, it just kind of all the fishermen that hung out on the docks, they just seemed to be having a good time, I guess. That was always one thing about the games that I thought that was kind of, I don't know, whenever I was a child, and I always had a little more fun going fishing, and even though there really wasn't anything to it, just sometimes you'd cast your rod and there'd be a Pokemon, and sometimes there wouldn't. But I don't know, it was always just that extra little side game, mini game kind of thing that I really did enjoy.
That's pretty awesome. I like that. I like that. What about you, Jake?
Okay, so if we're talking just the first generation, like the red,
blue,
yellow games.
That's all I'm talking about. Yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, if we were just doing those games, I would probably be either a psychic type or electric type trainer.
Ooh.
Because my two favorite Pokemon are Hypno, and I really like Raichu.
Yes.
And just in the first game, the whole like lore and just aesthetics of the psychic types are cool. Like Drowsy and Hypno, they like eat dreams. They steal children, and they like children's dreams better just because they taste better apparently. And then electric type are just really cool because even like as a kid, Lieutenant Surge just like really struck a chord with me.
Oh
Just
yeah.
like watching that like battle between Ash's Pikachu and Lieutenant Surge's Raichu. Like I don't know, Raichu just he looks cool to me. I like him better than Pikachu. And just other electric Pokemon like Magneton is cool. He's just a bunch of magnets together. Like Jolteon, one of the legendary birds. Zapdos is arguably like one of the better of the
Yeah.
three birds.
Uh-huh.
And just I don't know, just something about psychic and electric type.
Yeah. No, I
If you
hear
think Zapdos is the cooler of the three birds, why in the hell did you choose Mystic?
No, I don't think Zapdos is the coolest. I just said he's one of the strongest. I love Articuno so much. He's my favorite bird, and especially just because having to go through the Seafoam Islands in the games and like figuring out that water maze like as a child, it was like so much cooler than just walking to the power plant and
Yeah.
catching Zapdos.
No,
Oh, is
that's
that how
great.
that worked?
Yeah. Yeah.
What game was that, Red?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was in the first generation.
Oh, okay. Man, I should probably play one of these because there's probably a lot that I'm missing from those.
Yeah, it's a good time. What?
Although I have to say though, Pokemon Indigo League is on Netflix. So
Oh,
yesterday I was
really?
just like I was sitting there and I flicked it on. I was like, oh my god, I'm now an 11-year-old again. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. Like first episode, like when he got Pikachu, and we just recently watched me and Emily recently watched the episode where there was the two Metapod battle where they were like, Harden! And they were there all day because their Metapods were just staring at each other. And I actually retweeted, somebody like shared a screenshot of that, and I was like, oh my god, I remember that. Like, holy, I was like in like second grade when I saw that. That's amazing.
There's
That's
so many
awesome.
memorable episodes, like even with the gym leaders that really left like an imprint on me. Like the whole Sabrina gym was like completely out there compared to the other ones, just because she like captured them, put them in the dollhouse, and then like
Oh man.
Ash like defeated her by making like going off to get like a ghost Pokemon like his Haunter, and it just made her laugh, and that's how they won. He made her laugh instead of actually beating her in a Pokemon battle, and that's how he got his badge.
Uh-huh. Did you watch the recent anime series of like Pokemon Red? I think it's called Pokemon Origins.
Yeah, it's like really good animation quality, and it sticks a lot truer to the games. And
Yeah, that's what I
enjoyed it a lot.
thought.
And it's like really short. It's only I think like 6 episodes.
It's actually only 4 episodes. It's
Oh,
on Amazon
really?
Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, go check that out on your like, Wii U or Roku or whatever you have, because it's only like 20 minutes an episode, 4 episodes, and they really, I mean, as far as I know, and I was conferring with Emily about this because she played Pokemon Red. She actually did, she said that it was pretty true to the game, and I think that was really awesome that they went about that. I watched it dubbed instead of subtitled.
Yeah.
So I watched one of the episodes in Japanese, but it was just kind of like in the spoiler alert, the characters are red and blue in the game, and but in the subtitle version they call him green. They call Blue green.
Yeah. So originally, in the manga series, like Pokemon Adventures, I think it's called.
Okay.
Your rival is actually green, like in the Japan, and the girl that they meet, who doesn't really show up in the show, is called Blue. But for
Really?
like a lot of English media takes it and makes it blue instead,
Huh.
because in Japan they released red and green first,
That's right. There
but
wasn't a blue version in
and like
Japan.
everywhere else it was red and blue. So instead
Okay.
of like making the rival green in the English version, they made it blue. 'Cause
Okay,
that's like
so
what the games they had.
Yeah.
but the thing about that is though is the character in the show chose Squirtle, so shouldn't he be called Blue?
No, because in the manga, which is where like a lot of the true canon comes from,
Yeah.
uh, the main character Red, he doesn't have a Pikachu like Ash. His
Right.
first Pokemon is like a Poliwhirl,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Poliwhirl.
Wait,
And
doesn't he choose one of the starter types?
nope, I don't think so. I don't, from my knowledge, I don't. I could be wrong, but I don't remember. But
Huh.
he ends up finding a Pikachu, which is in the first town, Pewter, that he gets to, and
Okay.
it's
Uh-huh.
like very mischievous Pikachu. And then your rival, Blue or Green, depending on how you want to name him, he
Mhm.
actually has a Charmander.
Okay. Huh.
Okay, wait a second. Wait a second. So the person named either Blue or Green has a Charmander?
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily follow the color scheme, but
I mean, if you're going to name a
yeah.
person after a color, you probably should kind of commit to the type,
and then
I would think.
Red, I know at some point he ends up getting a Bulbasaur, or he might have gotten a Bulbasaur from Professor Oak. I can't remember exactly.
Uh-huh.
And the girl you meet up with, which her original name is Blue in Japan, she has a Squirtle.
Huh.
Gotcha. Okay.
Interesting.
Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I'm
differences in the media.
okay. I'm actually kind of looking forward to diving into this over and over again because I'm super interested in like the original. Did you read the manga yourself?
I read like the first 50 or so chapters, and then I stopped
Okay.
for some reason.
Okay,
But
but
yeah, it was
that's like
enjoyable.
a
It's like gets pretty dark compared to the like show.
yeah, but you know what the thing is though is like I was watching Pokemon Origins and I was like, man, this actually is kind of like touching and not I wouldn't say dark, but like it is really like it gets you. Like the Pokemon are actually fighting, you know, it's like they're biting each other and I'm sitting there like kind of like, oh my gosh, that's awful. Like I don't want to see that like cute Pokemon in pain, but and then, you know, going back to Indigo League, like watching the original show, I'm like this also is pretty intense. Like, there's like a Pidgeotto that almost ate that Caterpie, like right in front of us. So, like, I definitely, I don't know if I like it went over my head as a kid or I was just like, you know, accepted it. But like now looking back at it, I'm just kind of like, wow, this actually is pretty. Like they didn't really leave anything out. Like this isn't super. You know, oh, it fainted, it didn't actually die, and it didn't get hurt or anything. Like it's pretty like you were kind of invested emotionally into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, you know, with the podcast, with the app, you know, updating on like constantly. I'm actually looking forward to deeping like delving back into the origins and the you know the original series, the original games, and learning more about how this kind of stuff was formed. So, and since you guys have a little bit more knowledge of it than me, I'm kind of looking forward to talking about that.
Back with like
But
the gruesomeness though, like
yeah,
there's like this famous picture on the internet from the manga where uh, Blue's Charmeleon ends up cutting an Arbok completely in half.
Oh
really.
gosh.
Yeah, just to give you like an idea of how like kind of dark the
Ah,
like manga is at
there was a
points.
scene. There was a scene also where it was like either the third or fourth episode. The episode where there was the Metapod battle. There was the samurai who was the character who had you know the other Pokemon that was battling Ash. He had a pincer, and Ash was like imagining in his head his Metapod being crushed and crumbled in half
Oh.
by the pincer. And I was like, oh my god, did they really just show that? Come on.
Yeah, and then like the pincer squeezes and it like breaks all of its teeth on his pincers.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
my.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I really love how Pokemon Go is making people go and reevaluate like all this other different media of
Hmm.
Pokemon. Like it's just getting people back into it. It's making people who are already into Pokemon like even more excited, and it's just like such a great thing.
Yeah. But going back to the original question about the types.
That's what I was gonna
Um
say. So what type
Such a
of
long walk around.
it was a long tangent.
yeah.
But
So
what type of Pokemon trainer would you be, Kenny?
so um so back in the day when I was in like, you know, second or third grade, both me and my sisters actually watched the show and were really into it. And we actually they had these pillows and like these stuffed animals that were like 2 or 3 feet tall. Like they were tall and big.
Yeah.
And they were actually, if you would think about it, they were probably close to scale size of what these Pokemon would be. And there was a Charmander and a Squirtle, and both my sisters grabbed on those immediately. So like they were like, Jessica was like, I like Charmander, and Katie was like, I love Squirtle. And so I was like, okay, like I guess like what if we want to be separate, like what do I want? Well, there was no Bulbasaur. There was actually a Pikachu. I don't know why they didn't make a Bulbasaur pillow. Maybe it was like too different of like an anatomy than like the other two. But I got a Pikachu, which I love, and I'm sure is still somewhere in in the attic of my parents' house. But because my sisters chose Squirtle and Charmander, I was like, okay, I might as well be Bulbasaur, and or go with Bulbasaur as the starter.
Yeah.
But looking back and nowadays, I still would be super into grass Pokemon because I love everything about the environment, sustainability, and I just think that the grass types are really cool, and they seem to be on some level pretty close to what some of the basis of these Pokemon are, like the flowers and like the different types of animals and stuff. And I just like the types of attacks that they have as well. And going along that same kind of route, I also would either be between grass or the bug type, because I think those kind of like those encapsulate a personality really well. I think like you see the bug catcher is like the person, or you see like the the person out there with like the little sketchbook, looking at leaves and grass Pokemon and stuff like that. I would love that type of lifestyle and that type of environment to be in. So I would definitely go with that. I really love them when I see the grass types and the bug types.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't actually take time to look up to see if they were like generally any good, but like, do you guys happen to know like what grass is weak or strong against?
Grass is really strong against electric. It's really strong against water. It's actually weak to bug, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
What else is it good against off the top of my head? I think like either ground or rock it's at least good against. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I can't remember. But no, that's cool though. That especially with the Bulbasaur evolving into the Venusaur, you get the solar beam, which could power the Earth. But
oh, hell yeah!
But
yeah,
no, that's very cool.
Yeah, I think we didn't really cover we covered a lot of cool stuff about the community and what's been going on in the news, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to kind of like wrap it up a little bit, like you mentioned at the top of the episode, Paul, we kind of wanted to set some fitness goals relating to the Pokemon app, the Pokemon Go app, and I went on a jog. It was actually it was a 2-mile jog. It was a nice, what I thought was nice and straight and flat, and then when I actually ran it, I noticed that it was pretty much hills and hills. Like it was, the first time I did it, it was probably like 97 degrees outside, and I was, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was able to like make it home. Yeah, exactly. And actually, the first time I did that, I did it without my phone. It was just me. There was no music. There was no podcast. I didn't have the Pokemon Go with me. And I thought it was probably the worst run I've ever done. But once I brought my phone, I had the Pokemon Go app going. I actually was listening to a podcast. It was way easier. And I mean, some of that can be contributed to me like having run it before and setting an expectation. Right. But it was, I mean, the listening to a podcast made it great. Having the Pokemon Go app made it great. I caught a ton of Pokemon. I hatched a couple of eggs. I got like a Tanglia or whatever out of that.
Oh,
and I got
cool.
I think I also hatched a Magikarp, which, actually after going to Greenville, I caught like 3 of them. I posted a picture of that on the Twitter, on our Twitter, the Training Camp Pod Twitter. And so it was a great run. And so I want to encourage everybody, if they have been getting into Pokemon Go, to kind of set fitness goals for yourself. We heard from Paul that you definitely want to set some fitness goals and want to use Pokemon Go to get yourself outside and start running. But Jake, are you definitely plan on sticking with your jogging and actually doing some Pokemon Go while you're out on the Montour Trail, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like
Good.
Every time I go at least like 3 miles. Try to get as many steps in as possible. And it's just like, it's also like a kind of good like it's an additional incentive to do it. It's not necessarily like a straight up motivator for me, but it's just something that's like, oh, cool, I can go hatch some eggs, or I can go get some Stardust to power up my Pokemon.
Yeah, I agree. I think it just to piggyback on that real quick. I think it really made, like, just whenever I went running around campus the other day, that really made time fly a lot faster. Just every I was listening to music while I was running, but every song or two, I'd pull up my phone and see how my eggs were doing, or more often than that, just looking and see what Pokemon are in the area, and it really made the time go a lot faster. While also walking, running, and staying active. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing so we have between us, where we're talking about kind of like what we've been doing and how we've been, going out for a run and what we've been doing. But I want to also kind of hear from people who may listen to the podcast, or people in the Pokemon Go community, if they are setting fitness goals for themselves. And I think in the future, and hopefully even near future, it would be awesome to establish some kind of virtual Pokemon Go running club where we actually get people out and actually log how far they've gone, what Pokemon they might have caught that were new, and maybe like how many eggs they caught. Because I think that would be great to, like we said, like incentivize and also hold each other accountable and create a support group of people who want to get fit and want to use this as an incentive to do that. So look out maybe in the future if we create some kind of subreddit or some kind of like list or spreadsheet of people coming together, and maybe we can even create some kind of competition with whoever has jogged the most within like a couple of weeks, or has like been able to hatch a certain amount of eggs. Maybe we can give out some prizes and get people to get involved and get fit. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds awesome.
Like, especially if trading Pokemon ever comes in, which they say it probably will.
Yeah, it's rumored that it's going
to. Gets like this many miles and can prove it. They can have one of these high rare Pokemon.
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that. Yeah, and we'll definitely even kind of maybe create some kind of physical prizes. Like I said, that I wanted to make some cool badges through 3D modeling and 3D printing, and maybe we'll give out some of those for people who are really involved in our podcast and communicating with other people within the community. So I'm actually looking forward to that a lot.
We can have like team battles where whichever team jogs the most like wins a prize, or they like can have the banner of the subreddit like their style.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I like that. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. So we're gonna get that going. In the meantime, make sure that those listening, check out the Facebook page that we have now. We have a new Twitter page, and we are right now posting the episodes on YouTube. We're going to work towards getting them onto iTunes and maybe Stitcher in the future. But that was good. I had a good time talking to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. It's fun.
Cool. Okay, so I guess we'll see you next week.
All right. Talk to you next week.
Later.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.